Hi again, FCBC fam. My name is Jess. I am your host, and we're here in the studio for another episode of For Creators by Creators. We are a place for content creators, artists, musicians of any kind to gather, to connect, to collaborate, and ultimately to learn from those who have gone ahead of us and can share their lessons and their tricks in order for us to also hopefully have more of our work seen and to serve our audiences and ultimately to get paid for our work. I'm so excited to introduce our guests. We have our first two-person team here today, which is Ray Catchings and Pete Trubetskoy. Hi, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
They are a power couple within the creative space. They have such a powerful story, and I can't wait to dig right in. So we're just going to go ahead and just start off with, I would love to know a little bit about Ray from you. I think that the dynamic here is you have just this artist soul. You have this craft with tattooing that it sounds like has played a huge part in your life and in your community. And Pete kind of came through and was able to help take that online in a way. So I'd love to start, if we can, just a little bit about the origin story of your artwork.
Yeah, so I was a homeschool kid, and my parents were super strict, super, rigid. I had to be a certain way to make them happy, and I think that growing up in that very controlled environment made me feel very, limited. I don't know, I think I just felt lost, and I wanted to kind of find myself, and I think tattooing was something I discovered and I had found a connection to at a young age. It was always something that meant a lot to me, and it almost felt like a metamorphosis, you know? Tattooing was chipping away at the real version of myself. And I don't know, I think it was just always in the back of my mind, a dream career, but nothing that I actually thought would ever be a reality. And I ended up moving up to Portland in 2013, 12 or 13. And I met somebody who was a tattoo artist, and they weren't the greatest person, but they did offer me an opportunity to learn. And it was something that he recognized my artwork. I was drawing a lot. I was really stressed at the time. I was going to school to work with birds. I'm a big bird nerd. So
we love bird nerds.
We love birds, and I have a bird shout out, Wasabi. So I was going to school to work with animals, and it was a stressful program, but I used my free time as an outlet to draw, and that ex who I was with at the time saw my art and was really impressed by it, and he offered me an apprenticeship, and so I took it. I didn't honestly think that I was going to actually be able to ever break into this industry, but I just jumped on it. I dropped out of the vet tech program I was in, and I just dedicated all my time, and it was something that it almost felt like knowing that the sky was blue. I was I am supposed to do this. It felt very this is me.
It clicked.
It clicked.
It was an awakening.
Yeah. And it wasn't even like a big thing. It was just oh, this is natural. I'm supposed to be here. And there was never any kind of internal dialogue. It was just a thought of just knowing. I just know that I'm supposed to do this. So we didn't work out, me and the ex, but I knew that I was supposed to tattoo, and that I was this was the path I was supposed to be on. And so I went through a lot of extremely dark obstacles with a lot of different people in the industry, and just not so great folks that, I could have given up at any time, but I did not. I kind of wanted to show people that this is what I love, and I'm supposed to be here, and I'm supposed to do this. If I was, to let anybody stop me, I don't think that I would, be here today. I don't think I would be deserving of what I have. I absolutely fell in love with tattooing, and I don't know, it's a special thing to connect with what you love.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's something we've seen so often in these conversations, is that when you find that, we've said, the one of one, when you find the unique thing that you can do, that you were made to do, that is your gift to this world, and you're lucky enough to to tap into that in a time and then turn it into something that can be your career. It is there's like an alchemy, something clicks, and oftentimes doors will open. Sometimes they're not the right doors. Sometimes they're not the doors of light even. But in general, the world needs people's artwork. And I think it's so beautiful that you were able to trust that gut instinct and make this into your career. So how long now have you been tattooing?
I've been tattooing for 6 years. I just had my 6-year anniversary on August 13th. So
Congratulations.
thank you. I know. I thought it was 7. I'm like, this has been so long. But like I like looked at the dates. I'm like, wait, it's only been 6 years. So I don't know. I love it. I am so happy that I have been able to like make a career out of something that I love and like create like a little world around it. And like it's almost like a little safe cocoon, you know? Like I can share my art safely, like in a way that I'm comfortable with. So
absolutely. And that brings us to the question of, you know, how does one share their art with the world beyond the community that they might immediately in person be serving? And Pete, we want to make sure we get a little bit of your story in here too, with your own creative vision and how that's played into your guys' story. So do you want to tell us a little bit about maybe what your creative style is and how that's been expressed?
Sure. So I started in doing film photography in high school, carrying around a film camera and developing in the room back there. And the passion died away for some time when I took a corporate job on and, you know, just had to, you know, evolve in the world and pay the bills. But when Ray and I got together, we noticed a decline in the business and her social media and how things were working. And also, you know, found out that Instagram was making changes to their algorithm and we had to adapt or otherwise we were going to sink. And so I took my previous knowledge of the photography and videography and my passion for it, and I sat down and I learned and I thought what else would be needed for this business and how we could apply, you know, the knowledges that I do have and use video, which is needed for everyday use now on social media, and to grow the business through that.
And I love that because we've so often had guests who talk about the fact that there's always been this creative impulse or this vision for it that they hadn't been able to pursue, again, because the suspicion is that it's just so hard to make a living at creative pursuits or at the thing that you really love to do that maybe you didn't train yourself in or dedicate your life to early on. So the fact that you were able to not only kind of tap back into that early passion, but use it and recognize the opportunity to help your partner's business kind of grow and flourish. I think that's beautiful. I'm curious, how has that process gone? Have you guys seen like any kind of change in the business? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think for me, when I first started out, I think I got like in at a really good time. I went through a lot of hardships breaking into tattooing, but when I finally did and I tapped into kind of like my flow and my like, you know, my creative style, I think at the time that I broke in the tattoo industry was the perfect time, because like then COVID hit like a year or two later, and I think with that like timeline I was able to like kind of skyrocket in popularity a bit. People really, I mean, and also like where I was at the time, like Seattle, Portland, like the Pacific Northwest, they really loved my art. And it was very much me. I felt very connected to my art and I loved it. And I still do. Like, I mean, it's changed over the years, but I was putting out art from the heart, and it did well. But, you know, after, you know, the stimulus checks like died out, and after people, you know, like things slowed down a bit, I had met him and I had started going through a really rough point in my life, like a really pivotal point that, you know, kind of like hindered my creative process and my drive. And just, I guess I wanted to pull away from social media a bit. And I had met him, and, you know, we came from different worlds. I feel like we're like aliens. I feel like we're two different people. And I don't know, we saw something in each other that, you know, we really vibed with. We loved like traveling and we loved doing things together. And I think the art and like all of that kind of creative stuff came secondary, but it kind of naturally progressed into that as we got to know each other. And I think I saw like a little like creative like nugget in him where I was like, I don't know, I felt like fostering that and like bringing that out. And I think he was dying to like be creative, and you were able to start helping me and be creative at the same time. And I think that like that grew parallel. And I don't
Do you
know.
feel that way?
Absolutely, absolutely. When we sat down, I remember on our first date, it's I had this almost in my past, I had a mask on for dates. You know, you have to sit there like this. And
Oh my gosh, yes.
yes, this is my job, and I am, you know, and this and that. And I sat across her, and she just made me laugh and be myself. And instantly, like, I fell in love, and I was like, I'm myself again on the first date.
I just got chills. That's
Really,
so sweet.
it was really like that. And like in the first 15 minutes, I felt that, and I was like, this is my person. And ever since then, she's positively reinforced me to be creative and pushed me in the correct direction. And she's brought all of this out of me because, I mean, not because, but it just was that way. It was she just was by my side and accepted my efforts, and they progressed into something.
Well, and I think that's always this like really, like you said, when you're completely different people, sometimes we know that can actually work really well in a relationship if you both are drawn towards the same goal, like end goal, or you're drawn towards the same vision. And it sounds like, Pete, you played such an integral part in helping her passion scale, right? And you've had your artwork positively impacted by his creative vision and the way that he, like the way you self-taught. Can you tell us a little bit, just really quickly, because we do obviously focus a lot here on actionable tips or tricks for elevating content, for creating quality content, for putting it out in a way that can ultimately monetize. And it sounds like you had to teach a lot of that to yourself. It wasn't natural to you at the beginning. And it sounds like it's happened pretty quickly. So can you tell us just a little bit about maybe some of those learnings or what did or didn't work for you originally?
YouTube.
He's so good at that.
Shout out to
so
YouTube.
Good at that.
YouTube good or YouTube bad?
Bad. All right, good. Very good.
This
You said
one,
bad last time.
fully, like, I am so impressed. Like, I'll let him talk about his Soviet background, but like, he is so structured, and he's so like, he can give himself a doctorate in something. It is like unlike anything I've ever seen. It's so crazy. Like, I'm over here like floundering, like, you know, like I have such ADHD, and maybe he does too, but like, I feel like I cannot teach myself in the way that he does. He's so structured, and it's super impressive, and I'll let him talk about that. But
I just hear my dad in the back of my head telling me I'm an idiot, and I just sit there and do it and get it done.
Yeah.
That's the short answer. And a lot of coffee.
He wakes up at like 4 a.m. and
It just works.
I wake up at like 7 or 8, but he wakes up early, and I think that's like served him well. And I'll let you talk. Like you have like a 4 or 5 hour
I feel
window
like I
in the
just
morning,
have like
every
more
morning.
time ahead. You know, like if you just get up at that time every day, drink a ton of coffee, and sit in front of the computer. And I feel like I can confidently say that she is one of the top 10 artists, if not top 10 for fine line art in North America. And it deserves to be seen. I mean, how could this artwork not be seen on social media? And if we're together, why not make it happen? Why not put in the effort, you know, like to make these things happen? And so, you know, I sat down and just figured it out. It was like YouTube, Chat GPT, a lot of that, of course. I'm talking to it all day. So,
well, and that's what you were describing, that drive. I feel like, because I've tapped into that myself sometimes, and I've tapped out of it too, where I'm like struggling to have the structure as an artist. And I think, especially in these conversations, we've seen it kind of drill down to curiosity, right? Like this curiosity to learn, curiosity to tinker, curiosity to like expand a skill set. And we've had a previous guest describe it as like playing, right? Like when you can just give yourself time instead of the pressure of saying, I have to master this thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
You say, I'm going to spend an hour or two, shout out to Rio, for, you know, each day, just to give yourself room to kind of moodle within those spaces.
Yeah.
And honestly, YouTube University has been one of the biggest, I think,
That's so
takeaways we've heard
funny.
people bring here, because there's just, I always say this in my own life, like we've never existed at a time where it is easier to learn anything in the world, right? And
He says that
even,
too. That's so
Yeah,
funny.
absolutely.
because the whole universe's library is available to us. Now we have machines that can literally summarize them for us and
Yep.
give us like bullet points. And
It's how we found where to eat today. How we found where to find vintage today.
go.
Yeah, 2-mile radius, ready to go.
Yeah.
And so with that curiosity, especially if there's some type of creativity behind it, you're bound to learn more things. And there is there is a learning curve for sure. And I think that's where a lot of us that might have the ADD or might have the structural challenges that typically are associated with artists' minds might tap out. But this is one of the benefits of having partners, right? Like
Yeah.
business partners, life partners, whatever it is. And the fact that you guys meld together so beautifully and you both kind of defer to each other, I think that that's really beautiful. What I'd love to learn is, since you guys kind of came together and were able to tag team on this empire that you're building for this art that you have, tell us how that's like actually felt in the real world. Like, how has your business been impacted by the changes that he's kind of been implementing and having a larger audience see your work?
I think at first it like kind of started off slow. Like I said, I was going through a really catastrophic, very big change in my life. And I was a little bit more focused on my mental health and my well-being and getting through this hard time. And, every day it's like I'm still working on that, because it's like art comes second to like us as humans. And I don't know, I think, but like my business and my art and everything I've built is kind of like part of who I am. And so I can't ignore that. So like, yeah, as much as I try to tend to my own needs, like I've begun to like look to him for answers, because like he's so knowledgeable in that sphere of things. And the things that he's suggested have worked really well. And like, I'm not like social media creative and I don't have these like innovative ideas. Like, I'm passionate about the art and it really has like picked up, and it's like I've seen a big difference. And like, it's taken a little bit of time. Like, I think like there'll be like nuggets of gold, like we'll come up with a million ideas, but I think every once in a while we'll find like an idea that like really works for both of us and we really like are in tune with, and like we'll see like bursts of growth. And I think like the more we work with each other and the more we learn to work with each other, the more frequently that happens. And so like there's like, as beautiful as this may seem, and like we are so strong, like there's a lot of arguing, there's a lot of like things like as anybody would be as business partners. It's like you love each other and you work together. And so we've had like there's been obstacles that we've overcome in that sense. And like it's been a whole like new learning curve for the both of us, but I think we've just kind of stayed focused on like where we want to go. And like he has had a lot of like creativity in that realm of things that I wouldn't have had, but I have seen a change and for like the positive. And I think that like it goes in waves where it's like we'll have a lot of passion for like finding different ideas to grow, and that'll like we'll get past a certain hump, and then like we'll like, level off for a little bit and we'll deal with life and we'll think about more things. And then like a couple months goes by and then more like good things will happen. And
How about you?
Yeah, it's definitely been a difficult journey. I watched my parents. They were business partners. They also opened their own business. And, it was difficult growing up with them, but I got to watch them do that and I can learn from their mistakes. And so I'm applying that to our relationship. And
yeah.
we stay professional with each other, and it is difficult at the end of the day. It's you have your personal love for each other, but you're trying to tell somebody to be professional with, like, hey, we need to work on this. Try not to take it personally.
I don't
It's
take
impossible,
criticism well. That's like one of the things is like he'll like give me critiques, and I'm like. I like where I come from, where I was a homeschool kid, and my parents were very rigid, very like any kind of critique. I'm like, it's like I don't want to be told what to do, and it's like that's my own personal fault. But like it's like we've learned so much about ourselves as much as each other, and I think that like we have been focusing a lot on self-reflection lately because there's been some like rough points, and like. I think instead of attacking each other, we need to like tackle like what is our own like weaknesses and how can we grow as people, because like that's the only way we can get past things and like find a better place.
Absolutely. And I'm curious. So I feel like I know that it's been definitely a journey kind of peppered with some challenges for both of you individually and together, right? And to give you a little background on me, I have been I've been a creative within the writing sphere for pretty much since I was old enough to try and write anything. It's just been a passion of mine. But I, for a while, was trying to tap into a family legacy that I had, which was my grandpa was an artist. And so I remember during high school when I was getting tattooed, I was toying with the idea of getting into tattoo design. I remember I would just kind of be sketching, and sometimes I think the art can actually provide a type of therapy or a type of clarity or a type of tool set to go after the harder moments in life.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that at all, where you're able to just turn? Because that's the other like truth of content creation is I've just learned in being in this seat how much work it actually takes to put out something that is its quality is consistent as whatever, and it can be challenging when you turn something truly into a structured business that has a plan, that has deadlines, that has deliverables. And when there's money on the line, and when there's like really a very small margin of error to capture or lose your audience's attention, how have you turned to the art itself? Has that been any type of catharsis for you?
So my creativity, like, you know, like writer's block, like there's like artist block.
Yeah.
And I feel that in moments of stress. So it's not like I don't just like sit on my comfy couch and just like creativity flows into me. Like there's times I sit on the couch and nothing comes to me. I think when I'm like heavily stressed, it's a little bit harder. But sometimes there's just unexpected moments where I'll sit down and like so many ideas come to me.
Yeah.
And like when I do find those moments, I try to like soak them up so much. And like sometimes he'll be like, oh, babe, I found something cool. Like, hang on. No, this is a moment. Like I'm having this moment. Like I need to focus and be creative. And we'll even like talk about that sometimes and laugh. Cause like when I try to get his attention and he's really like zoned in on something, he'll be like, hang on. Like I'm like, now you know how I feel. Like
it's like you guys need lights. Like you need to be able to have a light on somewhere, like a red light somewhere, being like
the green
creative,
light means I'm creative.
Yeah, 100%. Whatever it looks like. That's a great like.
I think it's so true. And like I think that when I do have those moments, it feels so good. It feels so good to be zoned in because lately we've had so much change and transition. And like I said, there's been a lot going on that I've been trying to get past. And like learning to level out and be happy and like get through these transitions has, been an obstacle in itself. And like we're learning all these different life lessons and getting past these like hurdles in life. And so I think this is a big point in my life where I'm just trying to like appreciate the times that I can feel peace and can feel creative and take advantage of that. So like there's definitely times that like when I feel creative, I am absolutely like grateful for that. And I try to like take advantage of that as much as possible. And like we try to sit down together. And like I think lately like my artistic vision has like also inspired him, and he'll think of like what can I do to like help her in that creative like process. And like he thinks of cool ideas, and I've used his ideas as flash and people have got them tattooed. And so now we start to collaborate more, and like he has been collaborating in like the actual art itself more. So as much as like he does videography and does photography and does like the social media aspect, he's actually been participating in the art part, and it's been kind of fun to do that together.
Yeah, I love that. You should see him while he's watching you talk. Like it's very sweet that you guys can clearly. And that was also one of the main takeaways we've had in so many of these is that truly a crucial aspect of growth in the digital sphere is collaboration. And so many people that we've spoken to online and offline have said that the X factor in them having any type of growth, any type of opportunity within the digital sphere is collaborations with people that either are able to push their art, are able to compel their art, or are able to really just help amplify their art on a larger platform. So I love that you guys have described how your partnership, how your collaboration does work.
It's like the chrome stuff. Like I do a lot of chrome. I do a lot of realism. I do a lot of shine. This is something that like a lot of people have come to me for. And I think a lot of artists, especially in my realm, will turn to things like Pinterest and just images that exist, and we kind of collage them together, and like we use Procreate and other tools to create these unique images. But that being said, there is only so much you can do with the existing images out there. You cannot, like, if you want to find a dolphin in a Cadillac on top of a monster truck, like all in chrome, like you can't find that image. That doesn't exist.
But you should be able to.
Yeah.
But with him, he can make that happen.
Yeah.
And so it's like the fact that we have found this thing that not only we are able to use and know what it is, but he knows how to talk to it. And I'll let you go with that.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time learning this tool. Like there's a lot of commands and prompts, and you have to describe things a certain way in extreme detail. And then you can use other images as references and combine things and ask what you want from each piece, and then you're able to get a final result. And we've used this tool to create a lot of like the base images that she then takes and combines with other things, and then she's able to, create her flash pieces that she does. But so I've just been able to add a small, creative aspect where we're getting these images that nobody has and that they haven't been seen before. And like she said, a lot of the images in the tattoo world are being circulated in Pinterest. And people are starting to see the same vase, the same flower, the same this,
bust,
that.
the same chrome bust,
Yeah,
the same
it's all
little sprig. Like, it's just, it's like, at first, a couple of years ago, was like, wow, this is amazing. But now it's like, at this point, it's kind of like, oh, I've seen that a couple times. Like, and it's like, these people are executing them great, but like, it's like people want to see more. And we can only like dwell on the same things for so long before we're like, okay, cool, this satisfied me. I would like to see what else is out there. And I think that we've been able to tap into that, like, what else is out there. And so, there's a gal that came in the other day, super, super sweet gal. She was one of my first clients in Phoenix, and she, like, didn't even know that, like, people could do chrome-looking tattoos, and she wanted this. She brought in this pretty much pencil sketch of this design, and she's like, I want this, but I want it, like, shiny, and I want it to look a certain way. And, like, she was able to talk to him, and he created this whole image. And she was just like, wait, like, you can do this? Like, this is a thing? Like, and so...
And it was a chrome image, so it would have taken an artist to draw the contrast and all of these things, the lines, the highlights, shadows, and chrome, the way it reflects. It would have taken a month for or somebody, with the time.
I'm not
and
Hajime Soriyama. Like, shout out to Hajime Soriyama. But, like, there was somebody who thought that my art... she was surprised that I did this robot, that it wasn't my own art. I'm like, no, like, if I drew like Hajime Soriyama, like, I would be a world famous traveling artist. Like, I'm a fan of his, and I've been able to, like, tattoo some of his, like, amazing designs. But using this tool that we found, like, we are able to come up with cool designs, and I am able to tattoo very custom things on people. So it's been nice to feel like I can give somebody something unique and new, and it sparked like a kind of a new wave of creativity.
And that's also something that's come up quite a few times, because obviously we're at the not at the precipice, we're already over the precipice, but between Web 2 and Web 3, right? And we've seen all of these new generative AI tools, all of these new technologies and forums and ways to connect with other people spring up, that it feels like in the mainstream just kind of happened overnight. We know it's been happening we know tech development takes a very long time. But with that said, there's this kind of discussion about, the war between AI and the artist. And I feel like to some degree, obviously, there's always going to be a tension with something that can do something very quickly. Yeah. And also, obviously, when it comes to technology being trained on other people's artwork and things of that nature. But I think that there's this inherent synchronicity between the two, when, to your point, you can figure out how to harness it as a tool to elevate your vision, right? Like, if there's an idea in your head that you can't quite physically get onto the paper or onto the screen or onto whatever type, the film camera, and you can find a way with these tools to create it and then offer it as part of the artwork. I think that there's a really seamless connection there. I have a theory, which probably will be wildly disproved by science, but that as long as there are creative people, there's going to be value in like it's AI can't just wipe us out completely. Like we need
I
people to
think about
actually
this
be able
sometimes.
to. Yeah. And I don't know enough about it to be able to to speak super confidently. But
He's like, you better get on board. AI is like the new wave, and like you're gonna be left behind. And I'm like, they're never gonna take my job. Like, how can they? Like, people can't. Even if you programmed a tattoo into a machine that like all over somebody's skin, like you don't get the same experience. One of my favorite experiences with a tattoo artist was lighting incense in this like sacred feeling space, learning about each other. We told each other about who we are, our past, our traumas, our loves, like our future desires, everything. And we learned each other. And then we created tattoos based on what we felt about each other. And we gave each other those tattoos. And like, this is the tattoo. And she spent a lot of time in India learning about the art over there and like implemented this beautiful art into what she drew for me. And I'm like, a machine can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like there is something very human and a human connection with tattooing that I think will be completely irreplaceable. And
absolutely.
like, AI can, take us far, but it can't like overpower everything.
And there's even something to be said just about like human in-person energy. We saw that with the pandemic. Like obviously COVID and the pandemic wildly disrupted people's creative careers. And in some ways, to your point, it was a huge opportunity to be seen by a completely new audience or to hone a new skill or whatever it might be. And in other cases, as humans, we saw what the disconnect can do to us. We're still seeing it. It's been more than 4 years since the onset of the pandemic in America.
That sounds crazy.
I know. And then the mental health state that we're at globally is just, it's so fractured.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the long-term consequence of removing interpersonal interactions. And so to your point, I think that there's definitely always going to be that like magic element, that energetic element of person-to-person connection, creativity, of the actual artist's mind, being able to populate new ideas and source new information. I guess that's one of my questions too, is what related to your drawings and to your tattoos, beyond, some of these tools, is there any other source or inspiration you go to kind of maybe break through that artist block and create something new?
I am a huge music nerd. I've been a music nerd. Like, I don't know. I love like punk and metal and like disco house. We've really been into disco house lately, like, and just country and all kinds, like every genre. Like I know people are like, I like everything. I mean, it's like usually they like nothing, but like I truly am a music nerd, and I feel like that is where my original style developed from, was from old album covers. Like that is what originally inspired me. Twin Peaks and old post-punk albums, and just like the gritty surrealness of like these like just interesting designs that like, I don't know, kind of swirled in the back of my mind and like kind of like prompted me to like start this in the first place. I remember I kind of like faked it till I made it. And I started out in a traditional walk-in tattoo shop, and I said that I had experience when I didn't. Well, I mean, I kind of did, but like I didn't fully in the way that they wanted. And I remember my first day, I was like, what am I going to start drawing? And I remember thinking about, like, I had listened to an album earlier that day and vibing with it a lot. And like, I knew that Seattle, there was this little cafe down the street, and it had these like zigzag patterns on the floor that was like a homage to Twin Peaks, and like just all these different things were swirling in my head. I'm like, these are like cool images. Like this is a cool vibe. Like, I think I'm just going to try my hand at like drawing a themed flash sheet. And it kind of took off from there. So like, there's a lot of things that inspire me, and like music is a huge factor in that. And I think art books, I think once I started tattooing, I think I got really into like collecting art books, like the Hajime Sorayama, the Frank Frazetta, all these different like artists, H.R. Geiger, like you can like name, like I can name a million artists that like whose books I've collected, but I think collecting art books and looking through them when I'm feeling a block can really like spark creativity. When I'm feeling a little bit flatlined, I'll just like grab a book from the shelf and I'll start looking through it. And I think sometimes that can help a lot. And like just surrounding myself with art, and I collect a lot of plants, and like I'm really big into home therapy. Like I love a very clean, nice smelling space with like a cush carpet and some candles going and looking at some art books. Like that's my favorite. That's my space.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's what I love. And like we just moved to Phoenix, and like, you know, as the house always is the first week, it's like in a little bit of disarray. And I'm just constantly telling him like, babe, we got to get this space looking great so that I can like be in my creative space, you know, because it's like, I think that's my happy space. Like that's where I can start like flourishing. And I think that like being in a nice, clean, comfortable environment with my art and my books and my music, that's where I feel the most inspired. And and that's what I go to. And I think that that'll kind of always be what I go to.
Atmosphere is so key.
Yeah.
Even when you were mentioning that tattoo experience that was so meaningful to you, the incense that's burning.
Shout out JoJo.
There's like a tangible memory there, right? Like a olfactory memory that goes beyond just the connection that happened. I'm curious, real quick, Pete, with you, because you had to learn so much so quickly, and obviously you are able to produce really beautiful videos and photos to capture this. Where do you go for inspiration? Are there particular creators or artists that you look to, or have you just really been toying around to see what works and what you like?
Oh, absolutely. There's one artist that when she brought me into the tattoo world and I started learning about what, real skilled and what real authentic tattoos are, I came across Pita.kkm. It's a South Korean artist.
Okay.
And he creates extremely detailed, tiny work that requires special equipment, special needles, special inks to make everything so vibrant and tiny and detailed. And of course, he's an extremely professional artist, and he carries himself very professionally, as does the Asian culture, where everything is very commercialized, beautiful. There's no face in the product. It's just, how can we show this in the most beautiful, professional, clean setting and show this product in the best way possible? And he's creating the cleanest, best product with a videographer who's doing it the most professional way, where it's just focused on the tattooing and the work, the clean lines and the smooth edit. And overall, it just shows his artwork in the most cinematic way that it could, that it deserves to be seen without any extras. And I fell in love with his artwork and the way they were producing things, and so I tried to replicate it. And I learned it's extremely difficult.
I mean, there's a reason people are successful at what they do, right? They've usually figured out some way to make something very complex look very easy. But that's one of your inspirations?
Yeah, it was. So I want to just say this. An artist page, their main profile grid should be like a studio that you walk into, like an art gallery, right? You have all of your art on the walls. It's beautiful. It's clean. There's no whatever flyer or ad on the side or business cards. It's just, you're
Nothing
here for
pulling
this.
Focus. It's just
you're here for this. But how do you get there? And we would go back and forth with our arguments with reels. They're cringe. Nobody likes them. They're this, they're that. Why even bother, right? And it just came to me one day. I said, babe, a reel, you're scrolling on the phone. It's like you driving on the highway and you drive past a billboard.
Yeah.
You see the billboard. You're like, okay, that's an art gallery. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to go there.
Yeah.
And then you get to the clean art gallery where the artist sells itself with but their work and what they've done. And so you're not trying to pull people in with your art, but more show them what you're doing, and then they can see what you've done, and then they follow you, then they interact with you, and then they engage with you. And it's been everything. It's like if you're not advertising to the world, I mean, for example, it's 80 to 90% of people who see your content don't know who you are.
No.
So people have this massive mistake that they think they're putting out content for their friends and their followers, that they think that oh, this is for you guys. This is the same 20, 30 people that are my buddies that are seeing this stuff. And it's not. It's all new people every single time.
It's also, the stat is that at best, your content on social media is going to be seen by maybe 5% of the people that actively follow you.
Yeah.
Which means that those networks, those friends, those family, those colleagues, those, maybe social media people you've picked up over the years aren't seeing your content, to your point. So you're not even making it for them.
No.
You have to be making it for the audience you want to have and for the audience that has followed along with you.
Yeah.
I've kind of been a little bit more open-minded to that, and to this like billboard idea of like people who are driving by on the highway. It's like you have to get them to your page to even see it to begin with. Like, I'm trying. Like, is it like it's not cringe to try, but for some reason the culture, I mean, in certain places, it's like, ew, like you're trying, like, and it's like, I don't know.
We know that those that can't do, I argue it's not that they teach, it's that they hate on the things.
Yeah,
They
those who can't do hate.
They are able to, when you put criticism to creation, it smashes the person that's trying to be vulnerable with this expression of themselves, right?
Yeah.
And I'll say personally, I've been on a journey in the last year where I've had to really learn how to silence that like inner narrative that people care.
Yeah.
I've actually had to kind of realize like no one cares, and all I can do is show up with the effort of doing something worth caring about.
Yeah.
Right? Whether that's amplifying other people's stories, whatever to me means that I end up having that impact that I'm seeking. How can I do that without caring about whether or not I'm going to fail at it, without caring about whether or not someone's going to think it's cringe or whatever? And it's so much more freeing because it does half the time you're going to draw people in that are drawn to that art, that are drawn to exactly what you created. Creating content takes so much more time and so much more meticulousness and so much more trial and error
Than people might think.
than people even want to think. Like people want to assume that artistic people are maybe having an easier time at it than they are. I think because pursuing art is the more dangerous choice.
And it's vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, I feel like when I first started out as an artist and people were like, I don't know, they'd be like, oh, like, you're so brave. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're just like, I don't think I could, like, take failure and, like, putting your brain and your heart and your, like, I guess, like, creativity is, like, putting, like, yourself out there. And then, like, if people don't like it or if people criticize it, it's like shattering. It's like somebody calling you ugly or something. It's like, oh my God. Like, and for some reason, I don't know how, because I'm such a sensitive person, but, like, I've never felt that nervous about that. I've always just been able to put out my art and feel no social anxiety about it. And I think that's one little sliver of what makes this easy for me.
Oh yeah, and
It's
let him
not
absorb
easy,
the concerns
but
about it.
yeah.
he
critiques me all day long.
He can A/B test what the things for you and for your audience. I know we're going to run out of time pretty soon, so I wanted to hit on just a quick few other things, which is sidebar. My brother is a aspiring tattoo artist, and I've heard from him that there are some complexities around how tattoo artists show their art online because maybe they can plus up some of the contrast or the colors, or maybe make it look more hyper realistic than it actually appears on the skin. And I know that we've kind of discussed how that plays out for the actual tattoo artists. How do you guys feel about that? Like, do you prefer the ultra authentic, transparent, we're just going to show you exactly what it is?
Yes.
Yes,
that's it. It's every tattoo artist edits their photos. And I just want to say this one part, but this is her thing. Every tattoo artist edits their photos. It's just how much white you paint on in Procreate and how much you pop your contrast up and how much you denoise your images and make them extremely smooth. And it's go ahead. It's
cool. I feel like this is where it's like, do you want to stand out or do you want to be authentic and real? And I've always been like, I don't want to edit anything. I want to be like really honest and real with my client, like with my clients and my audience. And he's like, also like, I respect that, but like, there's people out there who are just like slapping on the like contrast colors and whatever, and it's like they're the ones getting the interest in their photos because it's like so where do you like lie in terms of the like, because it's like a 1 or 2 second like attention span when people are scrolling. It's like you got to catch someone's interest. It's like, I don't know, I feel like I stay pretty true to being authentic and being myself. And I think obviously, like, you know, I fine tune my little, like, I'll desaturate a little bit, put a little bit of a hue and like, you know, so it's a nice little glowy picture. But I don't like to edit my pictures too much because I want people to really feel like they're getting, like, what they see is what they're going to get from me. And like, I have not had anybody that's complained about, I mean, knock on wood, but like complained about a tattoo. Everybody's always been very happy. I have like a, you know, a very high return rate, and I have really great relationships with my clients. But I think it could be a little bit disheartening seeing some of the like really over edited pictures online. It's just like, you got to play the game sometimes. It's just like choosing where to do that. And
Also, to add, tattoo artists that don't post videos, for example, as you can edit a video, but you can't edit the video perfectly in a way where it's just the tattoo that's edited while rotating, things like that. So if you just look out for tattoo artists that don't have videos posted, that's a great way to see if
whether or not they might be.
Yeah.
So the ones with videos are the ones that are a little bit maybe more
authentic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's harder to hide what you're doing through the video because it's moving, and
Yeah. Well, and also just to give you some comfort, there has been quite a bit of data and statistics around the fact that at least right now, because of our attention spans, video is outperforming any other type of format when it comes to the digital sphere. And it's been like we said, there's learning curves to it. It's so much harder than people think it is.
It really is.
But it also it's the mechanism with which to be seen, to share your art, and to hopefully find people that connect with it, right? And that want it to be part of their lives. A tattoo is such a firm commitment.
it's an experience too.
It's an experience, yeah. So I'm curious real quick, because again, we want this show to be very actionable. We want it to be something that people can implement little parts in whatever part. We've talked about the creative experience. We've talked about how to get through challenges and how to maybe process trauma, how partnerships work, and how atmosphere plays into it. But if you were to look at the camera and speak to maybe 10 years ago, the younger Ray, and you were going to be explaining how her career was going to be brought online in this way, what is one piece of advice you'd give her to make that experience a little bit more seamless for you?
Damn, that's a really good question.
It's okay, we can skip it if it is.
No.
Can I add on to this? Can I add on to this?
Yeah,
Because I
go
feel
ahead,
like
babe.
I have a really strong thing to say that
Yeah.
it's like perfect for exactly that. But this is for all of the artists that are struggling, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of tattoo artists that are not getting bookings right now, and it's difficult for them. Instagram is the free billboard or the free radio ad that you had to pay for in the 90s. Every business had to play the game. Newspaper ad, radio, go print flyers and pay people to hand them out so people learn about your business.
Yeah.
You had to spend money and you had to put effort into growing your business. Just because you have an Instagram account doesn't mean it's going to flawlessly fall into your hands and you're going to have bookings, even if you're a good artist. You have to play the game. You have to provide content for the machine because that's what they want. And in return, they will provide you views and followers. It's an exchange of services. You don't have to do any of the extras. You don't have to buy anything. And, on top of that, this is something I just noticed like 2 days ago, but there's an extremely talented artist living in a suburb of Sacramento. And he's not getting...
Shout out Skin Villain.
Skin Villain, extremely talented artist, deserves to be booked fully out. And, he's struggling. And I'm wondering what's going on with this guy. And it's almost like our journey.
He's
Like
so
we're in a
talented.
suburb of whatever, Vancouver and Portland. And like, what the hell is going on there? We're not getting any engagement because Instagram, where you're posting from is where you're getting engagement from, no matter what you tag. And so if the population is not engaging with this type of content, you can't force it into them.
No. You have to try and reach beyond them, right?
Yeah.
I think it's like no matter how hard you try, if you're not getting your energy matched,
Yeah.
how do you grow?
Well, and that's, I think, again, that's just one of those key takeaways of this moment in time to be alive and to be an entrepreneur and to be a creator and to be somebody that is driven and is curious.
Yeah.
Is you have this universal platform if you're
Yeah.
willing to engage with it,
Yeah.
right? You're not being controlled by your environment. You're not having to feed into your small town. You're not having to play to a certain community that maybe is not in tune with what you're putting out. And you can really be amplified from anywhere in the world. Real quick before we wrap up, I want to know a little bit real quick because we want the audience to know how to find your content. And your Instagram handle at Hinter_Maskin_ is not your name. So I want, is it possible that we can give them a little bit of background as to where that name came from?
Yes. So, Hinter Maskin is an album from one of my favorite bands called Fliehende Strimme, and it is a German band. It's a post-punk band. I'm, really into that sort of music, and this album specifically got me through a really difficult time in my life. It was, a very pivotal learning point. All the lyrics were in German, but I had a dear friend translate them, and they are just so powerful and so moving. And the music is just, it's so beautiful, and you don't really need to know German to like vibe with this band. And it really made a mark on me, and it really made me feel like alive, and it made me feel okay. And I just wanted to carry something of theirs with me for the rest of my life. And I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I needed from that, but I decided to actually, after I tattooed an ex of mine with their logo, he was he was somebody who booked shows and booked bands, and they saw his tattoo, and they actually reached out and wanted to do their first American tour ever after seeing that logo.
Oh my gosh.
And we couldn't afford to bring them out, but like that meant a lot, because it's like one of my favorite bands, and they reached out to him to book their American tour. And I was just like, it's like, and so I decided to make my Instagram name Hintermasken, and I didn't think anything of it because I wasn't a tattoo artist. Let's just see where it goes. Like I just kind of like made it that way, and I don't know, it just took off, and it just stayed my name. And like people think my name is Hunter, but it's not. And I've just kind of left it that. I mean, there's times I've wanted to change it, but I don't know. There's just something that's just kind of kept it there and kept it consistent throughout my career. So I don't know, kind of running with it.
Such a central part of your journey, like you said, and your process is music.
Yeah.
And it sounds like there's been so many experiences in your life that you've survived, right? Like so many of us,
Yes. Yeah.
it seems like everybody's going through things no one will ever understand or know about. And sometimes the things you survive are literally just, inside of your own mind. The things that, especially as an artist, the hyper criticism, the fear of being seen or being exposed or being criticized or being rejected by it. There's so many things to that. And so when you find some other form of artwork that speaks life into that and, gets you in a way that keeps you here and keeps you, creating and keeps you fulfilled. I think that's beautiful, and I think that's a very seamless through line in your story.
Thank you.
I know we're out of time. It went so fast, but thank you guys so much for being here. I love your energy.
Thank you.
Your guys' partnership, I think, is going to bring a lot of really interesting ideas to people, especially if they're looking for anybody to collaborate with or to do life and business with. So thank you again.
Stay tuned. I have some really fun collaborations coming up before the year ends. Lemonhead, if y'all like the show Euphoria and makeup, stay tuned for, very soon something very special is coming. So,
ooh, fun.
Yeah.
We love a good cliffhanger.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. Fam, thank you for tuning in once again. We appreciate you so much. I know that, again, we hit on some of the same points about truly how tireless this kind of work can be, and I did not know it until I was put into this seat. And so I'm so grateful for those of you that continue to show up, that continue to put out your own artwork, that continue to push past your own barriers and break through into bringing more art and creativity into this world, right? Like we need that. This is what I think.
It's a job and someone's got to do it.
Yes. So make sure to hit subscribe if you're not already subscribed. We drop episodes every Wednesday, and we'll be back next week with another great one for you. Thank you so much.